Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. We're going to be talking about how Microsoft is going to give users the capability to purchase apps in Microsoft Teams in the store. Also, Forms Word Cloud option in Teams meetings that you're performing, and then how Insights in Microsoft 365 is now becoming Microsoft Viva. Woohoo! Hello, everyone. Hello, Darrell. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, Daniel.
Yep.
Lockdown level 4 still here in Auckland, but we're keeping ourselves entertained and thankful that it's just eerily quiet here in Auckland, so it's a nice kind of peaceful level of noise.
Yes, something came to mind, and I'll tell you later. But
Not
kind of
for the
funny.
show.
Anyway, not well. No,
Okay.
no, not really. All right. So, for those of you in America or America, for those that actually live here, I guess. Nah. For the United States is having a holiday today. It is where most people have taken off the day, but I'm here with you because I cherish the time together with Darrell and with our audience. So let's jump right into it with our first message. Our first message is Forms Word Cloud Poll for Teams Meeting, MC282180. I think most of us know what a word cloud is, but this new option is going to bring us that option when we're doing a poll in Teams showing the answer in a word cloud. This is rolling out late September and be fully completed by early October. And Darrell's showing that on the screen there. It's pretty spiffy. It's exactly what you would expect in a word cloud. But the users see that before they enter in their answer to the poll just to see how things are going. Now, I'll tell you something here in a second, my opinion on this, but get the message here gives how you do this and the options and how that experience is happening for attendees as well as the poll owner. So as well as that screenshot that Darrell was showing there. I definitely want to tell your users about this. I think although maybe as far as doing polls, maybe something that you actually just need to do anyway, because people find polls and doing those pretty easily in Teams meetings. One thing about this, though, is, and this is in polls in general, but in my opinion, I don't know how you feel about this, Darrell, but it's very, I don't know, it's kind of leading when I'm seeing this word cloud and there's this word that's big in the middle, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of might be my answer, and I'll type that in because it's the most popular one. I want to be in the popular. So I get my initial feeling is, man, I wish I didn't get to see that before I answered. But maybe this is saying that you can add additional poll answers. I don't know. Maybe that screenshot is just pieced together. I still don't know. But what do you think? Do you think that's the way it's going to be? You're going to be able to see the word cloud before you're answering?
I would hope that it's about just answer and then you see the results, and that they are live results, so they'll continue to update as people add them. But once you voted, you voted. You're right. It's a bit like a compounding effect. Maybe there'll only end up being 2 words if you see those words and you go, yeah, I'm going to vote for perfect as well.
Yep. So, like I said, rolling out soon. I like it. And I hope you do too. Give us some feedback, respond in the comments below, or if you're listening to the podcast, hit us up on the socials, and we're at 365MCS everywhere. So hit us up on the Insta, on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit us up and let us know what you think about that and how you feel. And if you're in chat right now, tell us what you think in chat and live in the meeting or in
Pity
the
we don't have a
broadcast in YouTube.
word cloud there, Daniel.
That's right. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. So let's stay in Forms world, Darrell, for the next message.
Yeah, this one is more about helping you manage those forms and organize the forms and quizzes. So this is MC282783. This is look, I don't often use forms throughout the things that I do at work, and so I took a fresh look at this and also just a fresh, you might say, critique and closer look at what we can do in forms. And today, when you do create a form, it just becomes a pile of forms. They're your forms. You can see them in the order that you created them. You can see recent forms. You can pin them. You can search a list. It's actually called a filter, but it's not really a filter. It's a search. I can see the forms that I've created in a list view rather than tile. Again, the columns are there and I can't do anything to filter or sort them. So this is a welcome change. Oh, there were forms too that I can see and create that belong to a group, not just me, but I share them with a team or a Microsoft 365 group. And so with all of those scenarios there, what I can do and see with forms, there isn't really a great way for me to organize them. I can search for them, but I can't really put them in different places, apart from move them around, move them from maybe one group to another or from the personal forms that I have. So this is about creating collections. And we know and understand what collections are. Let's just bring this up on screen and bring Daniel back as well. We have, just blow this up a bit. They are, I guess, containers. You can move your form into a collection. And the example we see on the screen there, Daniel, is quite appropriate for the US and perhaps the Northern Hemisphere, isn't it? What's happening at the moment?
Um, eh, what's happening at the moment other than
Yeah. Well,
school?
people have returned to school and
I'm like, what is happening at the moment? Yes, classes. So I think, as you're talking through this, having classes and being able to organize, that's one way that people may be wanting to organize their
yeah,
quizzes and polls, or I'm sorry, and
yeah.
forms. Yeah.
Yeah, like a class will often cover things and topics, and you might want to bring them together. Perhaps in the corporate sense, you have a recurring form that you often put out at certain periods, and you might want to keep those all together in a collection. So that's the message in terms of functionality. I'm not quite sure if you can organize forms into collections within a Microsoft 365 group or a team. I only see here that it's for my forms and not my
Fine.
shared forms or team forms. But it's interesting. So going back to there's a mobile view for it, so that's good. Good to see some consistency in that experience, and it's going to be rolling out to standard release in late September, and expect to be complete in November. So that's quite an interesting span. And government will begin to see that early November and be complete late November. There's not too much more to add to that. I think it's a good to see some attention being given to forms because it could be quite powerful, but when you do have a lot of them being created, you will want to organize them so that you can easily retrieve that information in the future as well.
I'm all for organization.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Daniel, our next one, our next message, we're turning to Viva this time.
Yeah, this one is insights in Microsoft 365 to become part of Microsoft Viva, MC282545. And it says in the coming months, those personal productivity and well-being insights that you may be currently getting via digest emails of MyAnalytics are going to become Viva. Microsoft Viva. So this will be starting in September. So here we are for targeted release and expected to be completed by the end of November for standard release. And there's some details here in the message about what this means. And really, I want people to understand when I first saw this, before I read any details, I thought, okay, what are the licensing implications? And just from what we're seeing and what we know here, this isn't a licensing change. This is really a name change. This is really taking what we knew of Viva Insights, that it was going to cover some of these capabilities as talked about in announcements and such from Microsoft, that what was going to happen with MyAnalytics, for instance. And here we see it's being rebranded, I guess, to be Viva, right? I mean, that's in
Mm-hmm.
effect what's going to happen. Now, there's going to be some changes. You want to make sure you read this. Things like renaming Microsoft Viva Insights is formally MyAnalytics, and you're going to see those in the admin center. Also, the retitled Viva Insights app. There will be a Viva Insights app in Teams, of course, but the Insights Outlook add-in will be renamed. So just know that this is happening. There's going to be a monthly digest for Microsoft Viva. It'll have that new subject of your monthly digest to kind of coincide with that daily briefing that you maybe have been receiving as part of your MyAnalytics. So, Darrell, what do you think about this? Am I right? This is rebranding this a little bit, kind of getting things maybe fashioned up and
Mm.
in line with Viva
Yeah,
Insights.
it's exactly that. It is a name change, but they're calling out all the different places that you'll see that change, and where that name change might impact some of the ways that you've set up access to things like that. I mean, I don't know if people still pinhole certain addresses through firewalls or content management through the internet, but it's now going to be insights.viva.office.com, which is there's quite a few extensions there on the domain name. Yeah, just a name change, and it's
Yeah,
all falling in line with everything else that's coming out with Viva over the next 6 to 12 months.
that's right. So let's stay in Teams. See how I did that with the Viva.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
tell us about purchasing apps, Darrell, in Teams.
yeah. This is interesting. Oh, there it is. There's our message. Enabling Teams users to purchase app subscriptions through the Teams App Store. MC282989. Look, is this Microsoft trying to create a app store like we see for Google and for Apple in Teams? Perhaps. And they've got their Windows Store as well, so we've got stores everywhere. But today we do have apps in Teams, and we're going to take look at an example soon. But one thing that you do find at the moment, which is kind of a restriction or a bit jarring, is that you go to get an app and maybe you need to have a subscription attached to it. Now, at Build this year, they announced this very feature. I think I had that here somewhere. There it is. We have the direct purchase and invoice billing for Teams Admin Center coming soon. So this will mean that you could purchase an app, and then you'll be able to make that available, and being able to have that consolidated billing too. So just a bit back to that message before we take a closer look at an example. We've got so users today can find and install third-party apps, but they might have to purchase that subscription separately, and it's kind of a separate thing, takes you out of the flow. So this actually opens up a few more possibilities for developers where you're wanting to get people in that zone where they are already looking for something that is going to meet their productivity needs, and you can captures that purchase flow. So, okay, well, this looks good for our team. Maybe the developers set this up so that there's a trial involved, and then you can go through and purchase that. And then the convenience of, well, what does that purchase look like? Is it I put my credit card down as a manager and I have to add that to an expense claim, or can I get permission from somewhere further up and actually just have it added to our Microsoft 365 invoice at the end of the month? What do you think, Daniel, as I switch over to showing us an example of what this might look like?
Yeah, I think this is something that we should have seen coming, and is something that people should not be surprised by this. The whole idea of capturing people where they are and making sure that they can get from point A of discovery to point B of using it in the same kind of screen and purchasing and all of that, I think is very important. If you think about app stores on your phone, for instance, I have an iPhone, so when I go to an app and I say, "Ooh, I want that," and it has a subscription, then it's directly tied into the store, and it bills through the store. They have my credit card, so I just say, yes, I want that. And it's a security in knowing that, I'm not having to share my credit card with this third party. And so in Teams, I'm not saying that's exactly how it's going to happen here, but having that, capturing the user and enabling them to start using the app is very important in the flow. And I think really there's several things that kind of made it, the SharePoint store, go well, they didn't go it just was it was heavily underused. And that was one, is that you could go in and get trials, but then it was, okay, you got to purchase this thing and you got to do this other thing, and you just had to do other steps outside of the store. So I think it's good.
It's actually quite
to
topical.
enable that.
If I just thinking about this now, current events around certain providers of apps within the Apple Store that were being excluded from the store or put restrictions on them because Apple wanted to have a certain percentage of that take. And now Microsoft are being quite open about how they're approaching it. And it's about just trying to bring that in line, even for that Teams and collaboration experience.
Yeah, I expect Microsoft to not be heavy-handed here in dealing with app providers. They want to build the ecosystem. I think they've learned from the whole experiences from Windows Store, as well as other store experiences that they had. They're not going to be heavy-handed here.
So an example of some apps that we're seeing, of course, you got tons of them now. There are a lot in there, a lot of amazing third-party providers. But one that I'd found as a way of explaining this, so one here by Sideways 6. Now, this is an app where you're able to run campaigns to crowdsource for ideas and get your organization to vote on those ideas, and then turn that into a team so that you can make those ideas and bring them to reality. But you do need to have a active Sideways 6 license to be able to to use this app if you bring it in. So that's what it's about, trying to say, well, let's try this thing out, and then after a trial, or we can purchase this, then it's going to be available, and the purchasing flow will be easier. Look, one thing though I do want to say, Daniel, as we sort of wrap this one up, is that what about these apps which are more about personal productivity? Would you put your credit card in to pay for an app that is then tied to your organization's Microsoft Teams? And if you moved on, then can you take that with you?
Maybe is my answer. It depends, Darrell. I think if you're using a company credit card, it's different than if it's a personal credit card. If it's a license that you can take with you, then yes, I would. If I wanted it, then I would do that. But if it's something where I think some people will just do it and won't think about it that way. I've signed up for it, now I've left, and they won't remember that they're still paying for something that's tied to a tenant of their old company. And so I think there's some stuff to be worked out there. But I think it should not stop users from doing it. Will it? Maybe, but I don't think it should.
Well, the timing for this, we should be seeing it quite soon, early October, and complete by late October. And let's see how it plays out. Let's see what third parties, how they change the way that their app is presented, and the different mechanisms for being able to purchase the subscription or the app itself. We're into quick mentions now, Daniel.
Yes, let's quickly do it. So the next one is this is SharePoint channel sites, temporary permissions editing, MC282480, and I think this one got hairy a few months back when we were talking about permissions being turned off basically in SharePoint for SharePoint sites that are tied to channel in Teams channel sites. And it was really what was happening in the background was Teams was syncing those permissions back to SharePoint over top of permissions that people were putting in there. And so Microsoft said, hey, let's just disable that SharePoint permissions editing for the site because we're overriding it anyway. So that's great. And we talked about this, and the message really got updated a couple times, but we got it. Well, now for this message, they're allowing team owners to go back and kind of adjust to the way this is going to work, and go back into SharePoint and be able to adjust those permissions or take note of those permissions, site permissions, and so they can reflect it in the team. So they're going to temporarily not do what they said they were going to do, which was hide all of the ways that you could get to permissions. And it'll be mid to late September until you can keep doing it until then. Then they're going to post another message in the message center saying, hey, the window is closing and we're actually going to start enforcing this. So I'm not sure about the way this is all being communicated, but this is yet another message. And then there's, I guess, going to be yet another message saying when it's actually going to be enforced. Just know that, remember, do all your permissions management for SharePoint sites that are tied to Teams in Teams for the site level. Of course, you can share content on those sites individually. You can go in there and change permissions on libraries, but you're not going to be able to do those permissions in the site. So they're just putting a pause on it for right now. Don't know why. And frankly, I mean, it's one of those where and I don't know anything about this, but I'm kind of figuring there's some sort of large organization or five that said, hey, Microsoft, we need you to hold off on this. And they said, okay, we will. So that's just a guess. I don't know anything. All right, Darrell, 2x2.
2x2.
Hit us.
Yeah, this is the 2x2 gallery that we have seen for Microsoft Teams meetings in like a Windows desktop, on Chrome, on Edge. So now it's going to be available in Safari browsers. This is MC282167, and Apple owners will be happy to hear this. So Safari browsers, I'm picking that it's for Mac, maybe from iPad. I don't know if you do 2x2 in a phone. When you're getting into iOS and phone and iPad OS, you probably would just use the Teams app. But this is good to see it available on Safari. This is going to be available first week of September, so that's now coming, and expect to be completed mid-September. So you're probably already starting to see it, and happy to use it. Last message, Daniel. Tell me about this feature that's still reasonably restricted around the world.
Yeah, before I get to the last message, I will say, everyone, make sure that you pound the thumbs up button, that you kick the subscribe button below in YouTube, and you hit the little, you just tinkle-ding-ling-link, the bell, so that you get a reminder of when we go live. And if you're on other socials, make sure you follow us. And on the podcast, please go ahead and share the podcast. There's a share button there. Just share it out to the world so we can bring more people in, that so they know what's going on. So the last message here is play my emails. Spotlight MC 282784. This is play my emails, as Darrell was mentioning, is sort of restricted now by country. It's meaning it's not rolled out to the entire world, unfortunately. But it is actually a pretty cool tool. Whenever I connect to a Bluetooth device on my phone, whether it's my car or Bluetooth headset, I go into Outlook, it has a banner at the bottom saying play my emails, and I can click it and it'll start playing that over that Bluetooth device. It's pretty sweet. So what this is, and this is rolling out soon, and it's rolling out default on with instructions on how to turn it off, but it is going to analyze your emails and understand where there may be some tasks or some action that you may need to do, and it's going to it'll play those first. So the way this is talking about is, it's very interesting because it says may, so it's okay. May as in might, on occasion experience this, where emails that may require the user to take action will be played first. I actually like this, and I'm getting more and more help from Outlook saying, hey, you had an email yesterday where you said I'll do this. Is this a task? And you go, yes, that's a task. Thank you for reminding me. Stuff like that, to where things don't fall through the cracks. Love it. So the only thing I don't like about this is it's not predictable. Really. I mean, you're not going to be able to say, these types of emails are always going to be played first. It says may twice here.
Yeah.
So it may do this.
It may detect in the language of the email that is probably an email that should be actioned before everything else. Or it may not.
Right. Just don't rely on it, but when it does happen, you're going to be so excited.
Check everything anyway. Look, can we liken that to focused versus other email? That takes a little bit of training sometimes.
Oh, most certainly, because people stay in focused, and it's like you got to remember that's only a view of your inbox. And there's another part of your inbox that you're going to need to make sure you're monitoring so that you don't miss emails, because that's just the computer guessing. And usually pretty well, but sometimes there's some important emails that get filtered out. So so that is this week's episode of the 365 Message Center Show. You can check us out on our website at messagecenter.show. or on all the socials, as I mentioned before, at 365MCS. We'd love for you to share the show. I had someone ping me this past week saying, hey, I was talking with a customer and they just talked about how they couldn't keep up with all the messages. And I showed them your show and they hit the subscribe button right there. Thank you for doing that. We'll send you a surprise, a nice prize in the mail if you do that. Make sure you let us know with proof. Anyway.
Are you offering to post stickers out, Daniel, of the show?
For every 5 people that you sign up that subscribes to our show, I will send you a sticker, and I'll pay for it. Now you need to prove it. Yeah. But
that experiment's gone a bit haywire for some that have said free stickers in the past, hasn't it?
It definitely has.
I've lost at some stage. Yeah.
That's right.
Cool. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us this week. Enjoy Labor Day, US, and for the rest of the world, let's keep on trucking. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.